Welcome back. I will just want to, what is it called? Soft. We're gonna do the soft palate today. The soft palate is, where is it? There we go. Okay, these are my notes related to the soft palate. I think it's an incredible part of the process. I'm just gonna get out the soft palate here. I don't know where it went. Somewhere here. Soft palate, there, got it. All right, so soft palate. I don't know, maybe these are just sufficient enough. I don't need my notes here, but we're doing this part of the syllabus. Holy fuck, this was just huge to go through. There's a lot of content. Okay, now soft palate. So what you guys need to know is that soft palate exists between the hard palate, mainly the so you have the hard palate, then comes anteriorly to posteriorly, you have the hard palate, the palatine aponeurosis, and then the soft palate, and then finally comes the ovula. And so after that, that's the end of the soft palate. So you have the functions. Where is it? There. The palate is a partition separating the nasal cavity above from the oral cavity below. It is formed of two parts, of course, the hard palate and the soft palate. Today we're going to be discussing the soft palate. And the hard palate is the bony septum between the nose and the mouth, and the soft palate is a fleshy septum between the nasopharynx and the oropharynx. So as we mentioned before, I don't know if you've watched the previous videos that I've posted, the nasopharynx and the oropharynx. The nasopharynx is found in the superior part of the pharynx, and the oropharynx is found below it. And so the soft palate is found on the margin, separating. It's not separating, but it's just found between those two, and that's where the soft palate exists. And I think if you extend your tongue to the back of your mouth, you'll be able to touch the soft palate with your tip of the tongue. Functions. During respiration, the soft palate is relaxed, allowing the passage of the air. During swallowing, the soft palate is elevated, and its posterior border comes in firm contact with the posterior wall of the pharynx, thus preventing the food and fluid from regurgitating. What the fuck is this word? Into the nasopharynx. What basically means that is if the food is getting swallowed, it closes that space so that the food does not go up towards the nasal cavity. The structures that form the soft palate is formed by the palatine aponeurosis and the palatine muscles. And so the palatine aponeurosis, as I said, is part of the soft palate. So the palatine muscles, and so basically you have to know that soft palate is formed by uncal fibers. That's what I know about it. That is formed by uncal fibers. And so the palatine aponeurosis with the muscles that are found on the are part of the soft palate. So the palatine aponeurosis is the flattened, expanded tendon of the tensor palati muscle, which is attached to the posterior border of the hard palate. This palatine aponeurosis gives attachment to all palatine muscles. So as I said, palatine hard palate, palatine aponeurosis, soft palate, and so this palatine aponeurosis is the origin part of all of the muscles that we'll be discussing in a bit. Palatine muscles, tensor palati muscle. That's the first one. And we have to know that there's four types of four muscle. I think there are four muscles here that we're going to discuss. And so we need to know everything about them: the insertion, the origin, the function, the innervation, because Swirsky asked me this question and I've correctly answered everything and he just liked it. And this, what I'm going to discuss right here, is very efficient for your answer on the soft palate. So the tensor palati origin from the scaphoid fossa of base of the skull and from the lateral surface of the Eustachian tube. That's the origin of this tensor palati. Okay. Insertion: the muscle forms a rounded tendon which hooks around the pterygoid humulus, then extends to form the palatine aponeurosis, which gains attachment to the posterior border of the hard palate. The aponeurosis of the right and left muscles join each other in the median plane. So it can be hard to get to know what they're trying to say here, but I will show you exactly a very short summary of it in my notes that I showed at the beginning of this video, and you'll understand this very easily. And I'll show you a different scheme that shows this muscle arrangement as a form of spider so that you will never ever forget it. Action: makes the soft palate tense and tight tense and tight, separating the oropharynx from the nasopharynx during swallowing, keeps the eustachian tube patent, which is, I think, and that's just a general function. I don't think you need to know the relations, but innervation at the end we'll see. So levator palati muscle, as you see, tensor tenses, levator elevates. Now you're going to see the action of it. It says here elevates. Origin from the apex of the petrous temporal bone and from the lower aspect of the eustachian tube, insertion into the upper surface of the palatine aponeurosis. Action elevates the stiffened soft palate, shutting off the nasopharynx from the oropharynx. That's where we don't want food going to the nasal cavity. Opens out the eustachian tube for pressure equilibration. That's liver palati muscle. Pathoglossus muscle. Where have you seen this muscle before? In the tongue, exactly. So pathoglossus is also part of this count. Origin from the lower surface of the palatine aponeurosis, insertion into the posterior 1/3 of the side of the tongue, and action it pulls the tongue upwards to close the oropharynx isthmus in the first phase of deglutition. But make sure to know also the action of the pathoglossus on the what is it called, the soft palate itself, because once I said this, he was like, huh, elevates the tongue, what does that have to do with tongue? It does elevate the tongue, but at the same time it does something to the soft palate. I think it just brings it down, but just make sure you know this. Finally, the plateau pharyngeus muscle. Origin from the lower surface of the palatine aponeurosis, intrusion into the posterior border of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. Action pulls the larynx up and shortens the pharynx into the second phase of deglutition. I think what it means here that when we're trying to swallow, this muscle pulls the larynx up so that we can take in pharynx. So the larynx is the windpipe, and pharynx is where the food continues down. Yes, so it basically just pulls it up, because of course, when you're trying to swallow this function, you see how this whole thing went up is because of the action of the palatopharyngeal muscle. The muscular ovule is the muscles within the ovula, and origin from the posterior nasal spine of the hard palate, insertion into the mucous membrane of the ovula. Action pulls the ovula to its own side and above. Now, the nerve supply. Nerve supply, motor. All palatine muscles are supplied by cranial accessory nerve through vagus nerve, except tensor palati, which is supplied by the mandibular nerve. Okay, the sensory part, greater palatine and long sphenopalatine nerve supply the hard palate, lesser palatine nerve supply the soft palate. These are important things to know. Now, I'm going to show you a summary of mine that maybe a little bit simpler to your understandings, and this is it. So the soft palate, okay, the muscles that are present here, we have the levator veli palatini, the tensor veli palatini, the pathoglossus, the palatopharyngeus, and the muscular ovule that we had discussed just a bit ago. Now, the levator veli palatini is a muscle that extends from the posterior part of the temporal bone. Right here, you see, petrous part of the temporal bone to the palatine aponeurosis. Right here. Okay. And then its function is to elevate the soft palate. Easy. When it contacts, it elevates it. Tensor veli palatini extends from the spine of the sphenoid bone, right here, to the palatine aponeurosis. It helps to tense the soft palate. And these are found superior to the palatine aponeurosis. Okay. The palatoglossus, right here, number 3, it originates from the palatine aponeurosis to the superior border of the thyroid cartilage. It brings pharynx anteriorly during swallowing and tenses the soft palate. And that's the palatopharyngeus. Sorry, the palatopharyngeus, number 4. The pathoglossus from the palatine aponeurosis to the side of the tongue and helps to pull the soft palate down. So this is basically the summary of the soft palate, and that's what I had when I spoke to Sureski, and he was satisfied with my answers. And make sure you know the innervation here. It has 5 muscles and all innervated by the pharyngeal branch of the accessory nerve, as you mentioned, through vagus nerve, except for the tensor veli palatini innervated by the medial pterygoid nerve from the mandibular nerve. Okay, soft palate done. That's the end of the video. I hope you liked it, and like, share, subscribe, whatever they say on those things. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Stop recording.